A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to A Voice of Youth, a weekly program that's brought to you by Hidayat Television Network's Birmingham studios. I'm your host Ali Mohsin Hashmi. As you are fully aware, viewers, this is a weekly show which is presented to you, and we bring this to you on Saturday and Sunday, and between 5 and 6. The duration of the show is 1 hour. We allow you to discuss issues revolving youth. If you're a parent and you've got children who are within the age group of 13 to 25, concerned about issues which associate directly with youth. Over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about various issues that our youth are facing at the moment. In particular, education, lack of education on the grassroots level, lack of education at university level, and also the education that's post-school level. We also briefly discussed with our senior panels, members of panel, who actually did share their experience and also talked about their experience with the youth. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel with yourself today. So on my left first, I've got Kuratulain Zaidi, who has worked with the youth, age group 13 to 25, worked with various councils, worked with private and public sector, and have been with us from day one. Thank you very much, Kuratulain. We welcome you to the show. Next to Kuratulain, we've got our sister Sayyida Amina Bukhari, who is an academic and worked with youth and also worked in the education department for more than 20 years experience, adding value via various projects. Current project that Amina is working on is Acorn Primary School, which is a school envisioned to provide services to the underachieving. Right next to Amina, we've got our sister Samareen Zaidi, who was with us last week on Saturday and Sunday, a mother of 3 children, also worked in the society on senior positions, senior management positions, and also shared her experience whilst being married as well as at university. Added a great deal of value in our previous shows, and also we requested them to join us today. As you're aware, viewers, we try to engage with a member of youth as well, so we requested you to write to us, we requested you to phone in, and if there were issues that our youth wanted to discuss with us that we haven't actually managed to discuss so far, we would welcome you on the show. We will welcome you in the studios, and exactly why we've heard from our brother Sayyid On Muhammad, who's written to us, and we have welcomed him to the show. 20 years of age and currently a university student. We welcome you to the show, Brother On. First of all, a very humble thank you to all of you for undertaking our invitation and accepting to be part of our show. A brief recap for all the viewers who actually didn't watch the show on Saturday and Sunday. What we discussed last week and over the last couple of weeks, if you've missed all the episodes, is that we've discussed the Asian community in particular in a wider society. We've got our challenges which stem from education, lack of education, and underachieving on the grassroots level, which our sister Amina and Kuratulain thoroughly discussed, and we actually drilled down that it is absolutely of paramount importance for us to actually make sure that our youth on the grassroots have got very solid foundation when it comes to giving them education. Then we moved on to the age group of 13 to 16, which caters to our students who are in GCSEs. We talked about the shocking stats of our students who are in full-time education, but when they actually finish their school and 16 years of education, the GCSE grades actually translate into a rather discouraging results. So those who actually sit in the bracket of A, B and C grades in GCSEs, they then move on to pursue pastures for their university. And obviously, in order to get to university, there's a middle part of bridge that they need to go across as well, which is A-levels. So some actually do manage to get through that bridge by getting the required grades, again A, B's and C's, and then those who actually don't, they actually take untraditional route, which is B.Tech, H and D. And once you actually get to universities, then there are further statistics. Just to quote, only out of all the university applications that universities do receive, only 6,500 are of Pakistanis. So out of those 6,500, only 12% of Pakistani youth actually graduate in first-class degrees. Now, this is the area which is 6,500 who apply to universities. What happens to the other youth is what we talked about, and exactly why we actually had our panelists. So we actually, I'll start off from you. We talked about in the previous episodes, 6,500 go to universities, and the other actually end up doing crime. Myself and Kuratulain last week, we actually talked about stats on what these youth might be up to, and today, for evidence, we've got a member of youth in the house as well. So youth actually end up in universities, and the other youth end up taking drugs because we've got very high stats. Unemployment is ever so high. There is lack of activities. There is gang, drug crime. How do you think, and what do you think is the driver behind these sort of categorization?
I have to correct you there. They don't all end up in crime and drugs if they don't go into university.
Okay, metaphorically speaking.
They've got to, some of them take the training route, and others go on to jobs or work for family businesses. And some of them miss the net, and they end up in crime or associated with criminal activity.
Yep.
It's funny, I was speaking earlier this week to an associate of mine who works for the police, and he said that the problem that he has is that when he's a community officer for the law, and the problem that he has is often dealing with young men from Pakistani background who are hanging around street corners or on the street and causing a nuisance in groups, and this is an age bracket between 14 to 26-year-olds, and they are some of them are night workers as in working in restaurants or fast food restaurants and takeaways.
So during the day they haven't taken up education, but so according to what your colleague or your associate saying is that these are the youth who actually sit on the street corners where contradicting themselves. They're actually the working bunch. They actually work in the night, in the daytime. They actually
some of them are working, and others, there might be the odd one working, but the others are just hanging around and just keeping out of the house to give them some social life, but there's nowhere for them to go.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, we'll come back to you on that, because I think it's really important that we actually understand the point of view of establishment police and law enforcement agencies who actually do have a responsibility across the board, and I think that is our strategic part of our show. But I think I'd go to our sister Samreen and recap from last week. We actually talked about a very sensitive issue that our youth in our community, i.e. Asian community, we actually do have a blessing of idaras in our local communities, and yet we actually don't see many doing what some of our idaras are doing at the moment, which is offering youth a guidance. So before I get to youth, can you recap on that, and then we'll dwell from there. I've got some emails which come through as well, so all the viewers who actually written to us, we've had enormous amount of emails. Thank you very much for all the emails from parents, all the emails from members of youth. We've also had some text messages and also some telephone calls which were after the show, so we'll try and cover them off where applicable and where relevant. Over to you.
Yeah, I think last week we did mention that our idaras have a big responsibility, and there is a vast amount of funding going into developing these idaras and, you know, making our mosques and our imam baras, and what is the purpose behind it? Are they just there, like we said, for the 10 days of Muharram, for these specific dates where our elders can gather and get together and commemorate certain dates, or is there a wider purpose to them? Can they be more useful with that amount of investment? Can they be used around the clock for various other activities? And again, like we said, the youth are our future, and if we don't, you know, focus on them now, then are we going to lose touch, and then do we have a future? Because at the end of the day,
it's a very good point, and we do have an email from because I think it is really important that this is one institution that's got extensive presence up and down the country. Now, let's you know be a bit more focused. Let's talk about our Shia community, for example. Our Shia community has got at least 2 Imam Bargahs within 5 miles, and that is really extensive presence. So if our community centres, if our I should say our local councils, our government establishments is not able to develop and provide fundings to the projects, i.e. that Qurratul is looking after. Clearly, idaras can do something, and this is where I think I'd ask you, Brother On, how do you think our idaras are doing in your eyes?
Well, at the moment, or I'd say from my point of view,
Yeah.
you know, being around youth of my own age, you know, going through the whole education system, seeing youth of my age, you know, going different directions,
Yeah.
are the reasons. We're living in a Western society. All our families have come from Pakistan, so we've got this culture
India,
in us.
Pakistan, Bangladesh, yeah.
Living in a Western society with black kids, white kids, Hindus, different races and religions. Going school, majority of us, not all of us, majorities are going to mixed genders and mixed culture schools.
Yeah.
You have to mix with these people. Now, as far as school, from school all the way through to university, our parents are at home. The most they will see is to drop us to school and take us back. What goes on inside of school and inside of school hours, even outside of school hours, only we are aware of that. Now, the problems that we face, obviously, that from a young age, going through to pubescent and to our young adult ages, they're sensitive in the sense that they're very controversial. If we were to go to we're not going to be able to approach our parents most of the issues that we're going to face. We're young, we're young people. We're human beings. Allah made us as human beings, not as angels. So nobody's perfect. So now, if we're going back to our communities, our mosques, where our Maulanas, our community members, they've got this they've got this expectation that everybody is perfect. That Maulanas taught them from the minbar that this is how you should do. This is the 5 pillars of Islam. You should do your namaz, and that's it. That's the end, and that
I
you
think
shouldn't do.
The question was that our society has got these idaras.
Yeah.
So these idaras are doing majalis, they are doing mosques, they're doing namaz, but are they doing anything for the youth?
I can't pinpoint and say that they're not doing anything, because now obviously from my own community I've noticed that they are starting to recognize the problems and issues and are starting to address it. And the way one thing that I noticed, especially from my own community, is giving younger kids, not just youths of my age, but from my age down to
you
11,
just literally just come out of your teens. So,
yeah.
It would be
Giving authority, giving them authority. When you give a child authority and power, it makes them feel special and important. And in our mosque, we have the elders running the general committee, but giving the youngers the chance to organize the events, organize charity events, organize the mosque events, organize events for people older themselves, makes them feel.
So when you say giving them responsibility, I'll come to you on that, Amna. Giving them responsibility, would you not think that would be compromising and it would be taking up a degree of risk?
No, I wouldn't say, because they're going to take some responsibility on later on in life. So why not start as you mean to go on? So if they are given even a reward and sanction system within the madrasa, and yes, in one of our Imam Bargas, we have got supplementary classes and a school going on for numeracy and literacy.
Which Imam Bargas that?
The Clifton Road.
In Birmingham?
In Birmingham,
okay.
On the Clifton Road. Actually, it was myself and Uncle Muzaffar Abbas who actually.
Okay, the reason why I actually ask you this is because this platform is. Maybe those viewers who are from Birmingham and they don't know that this sort of thing is happening. So if it is happening, then it needs to be highlighted.
Yes, of course.
So you're saying that there is an Imam Barga in Birmingham?
There is an Imam Barga in Birmingham on Clifton Road.
What do they do for you?
What they do for the youngsters from a very young age, from 7 onwards, they give them supplementary classes in English and maths. And for the youth, they've got these football clubs and other sporting activities and they also compete with one another from different mosques.
Right.
And then they have tournaments. And then after the event that takes place, then they go and have a meal together.
Mashallah.
But that's mainly for the boys, and they've also got lectures going on for the young girls. But in some of the other Imam Bargas, that's not happening. But I would like to see in the Imam Bargas more activities for young girls and women, and supplementary classes for numeracy and literacy to help them with their 11+ exams.
Qurratul, over to you. What sort of activities do you think we could do for girls from Imam Barga's point of view, bearing in mind that there needs to be hijab. There needs to be, you know, a degree of integration with external and mehram and non-mehram and that sort of stuff. So, what sort of activities are we talking about?
Similar to what offers to the boys, you know, you can play football with a hijab.
How can girls play football?
How can girls play football? They can wear the
Let's talk about
Okay.
in a practical environment. So, for
Okay.
example, we'll
Yeah.
say let's hire out a, you know, a
Yeah.
five-side pitch, and that's obviously going to be an outdoor.
Yep.
Or possibly indoor with you know, the local staff who's
Yep.
going to be looking after, and that's possibly
But then
male.
again, from my past projects, I've already run projects, had funding to work predominantly with Muslim young people, i.e. half of them were females who were given permission by the parents, you know, to work with me after school, you know, midweek,
Yeah.
whatever. So one of the main activities that they enjoyed was support with football or even health and fitness sort of thing down the local gym.
So, is there
so-
anything beyond sports?
There's not your typical cooking or whatever, anything that the girls want to do.
Why not cooking?
We can.
Sounds like a good exercise to me.
Well, again, it's like it's cliche, isn't it? You see a girl, you were expected to cook, you know.
On what's your take on sports activities?
One thing that I have to say,
Yeah.
I think every problem that we've addressed, the main, you know, the solution we've come out for is sports. You know, you should engage in sports. You should
Yeah,
do
because
sports.
we've heard a lot of Marajaeen talk about
Yeah,
it.
that is one thing. Even I've noticed. If speaking to Maraja, you know, ask them for a solution. How do we do you tackle youths? You know, send them to sports clubs, send them to this club, that club. Not saying that it's not a solution. It is a very good solution, in fact, because obviously, you know, a lot of our boys, you know, what normal kids at my
Yeah.
age do. They do enjoy football. They do like going out with the lads, having a, you know, have a football game. You know, compete as they do. It is a good solution. It's a very good solution.
But
But it's not
football the only solution?
It's not just football. Every type of sports. You
Yeah.
know how we have the girls. We have girls swimming. You know, we have girls swimming classes and, you know, swimming, you know, sessions. Everything. But sports is not. I don't think sports is the complete solution, because not everybody will want to spend their spare time socializing after, you know, working, education, playing sports. Sports is a hobby, an activity, something to keep yourself healthy and fit and preoccupied, but it's not the complete solution. It's not the only thing that is available out there, because today's youths are not going to want to be play, you know, sports as their socialize. You want to socialize. It's not haram for, you know, a group of youth to go
What
out.
about interactive games?
Interactive games in one.
Xbox or console?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's also something that, you know, for our younger, because we have to categorize them in age groups as well. You can't patronize an 18, 20-year-old person and say to him, you know, go to a games class, go to play football. You can't tell, because he's technically a young adult. You can't expect him to, you know, you tell him that, you know.
So give us a solution. You're a member of youth and you don't like physical activities.
It's not that I learn. Personally, I do.
I'm just
but
giving you
I'd say, for instance, just as I mentioned, it's not you know, against Islam or the law or haram in any sense for a group of youths, you know, to gather even at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night.
in Imam Barga.
Not even in Imam Barga, to go out for a meal, casually, have you know, socialise, you know, like normal kids do. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to hit a bar or go to a club, or, you know, that is not the only, as sports isn't the only solution for, you know, staying away from sinning.
Some of the parents may not agree with you going out late in the night.
It's not just necessarily about staying late, and that is, you know, obviously individual. We all care for our kids, you know, it's a natural instinct. We don't want our kids getting up to anything.
I wouldn't expect you to know.
We all expect, obviously, we don't want our kids getting with the main worry we have about going out late at night, not necessarily nowadays about, oh, you're not going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, it's knife
now
time.
It's more like, what is he going to get up to at this sort of time? But if you're able to go out, you know, socialise like normal kids do, like we all do in this country, as a group of friends, you know, that's also something that could be encouraged.
So, Marine, as a mother, you've you know, raised 3 teenagers at one point, and clearly, what is it that our parents don't like when it comes to going out late at night?
Well, at the moment, we seem to be happy to have them out late at night, but it's whether we know what they're doing and where they are. Would we not prefer them to be in a safe environment with a group of friends that we trust?
I
and
don't
we
think
know?
that statement is particularly true for the masses. I think you possibly, if that's the case with you, then you're literally sitting with a small minority of parents who possibly are professionals and sit in that particular bracket we talked about.
Yeah, but what if...
Let's talk about masses.
What if, for example, my son was to say to me, I'm going for a majlis session, and it's going to last till it's going to last till 1 o'clock. How do I know he's at a majlis session?
Yeah.
So what would you say?
How do I know that he, because I'm not allowing him the freedom to be like a normal young adult, then is he going to use that, or she going to use that situation and abuse my trust?
No, but the question is,
you
for
say
those
something
parents,
what's going to be more appreciating to me, what I want to hear.
but the question is for those parents who, I mean, I'm talking about the masses, and you know, we know that not every parent out there who's watching this show is a management professional, or they have seen the world the way you have, and you know, so on and so forth. So parents who are actually pretty old school, and they have their values, and they say, right, okay, 10 o'clock, ab 10 baje ke baad ghar se bahar nahi jana.
Yeah, there is a realistic time.
Yeah,
There
sorry
is.
to interrupt you. I've got a question. I mean, what is it that they would do after 10 o'clock?
That's exactly what I want to know.
That's one thing. And secondly, why, as long as my child is safe, what worries me is for my child to be out late at night is for them to get into trouble by being stabbed, or by getting in the wrong crowd, or getting in some sort of trouble.
So
would worry me, and that's why I'm reluctant. If my son goes out, I would like to know where he is, what time he's getting on, for my peace of mind and for his safety. That's my main reason.
So this is basic. Again, both of you, with due respect, I would say that you sit in that minority bracket where you are professionals, and you see the the Western world differently to how our masses would see. So I mean, a lot of our brothers and sisters and our uncles and aunties out there who don't respect
like
going out late.
The police officer I was speaking to earlier in the week, and he said that the young lads who hang around do get into trouble with the law are the ones who hang around in the middle of the afternoon and late afternoon. So if they can get into trouble, then why are we...
So they can get in trouble in the daytime?
In the daytime.
Right, okay.
You know, so why would we not let them go out at night?
Brilliant.
And
I think on this note,
and also we don't have to let them out at night. There's no time curfew on when people do bad things or good things. It's right guidance and structure and support.
It's manners.
And the foundations have got to
manners.
be...
If I was to go out at night, I tell my children I'm going to be going to so-and-so's place. This is my number. This is what time I'll be back. So they know I'm in a safe place, and if I'm not back at that time, they know something's wrong. They'll know to be worried, and that I'd be expecting in return. So it's...
Brilliant. I think on this note, this is really important that we actually do welcome some of the calls as well. So we would like to hear from you if you are a parent and watching the show, and you don't agree with any aspect of the show, or you've got input. We would like to hear from you. Our numbers are coming on the screen, so we have now welcome any calls which are coming through. So on this particular note, going back to responsibility of our idaras, we'll actually go back to Brother Owen's point that if we want to go out late in the night, we should be allowed, because we would still be able to do what we are able to do at night in the day if we wanted to.
Sorry to interrupt, but is there a reason? You've got to undermine, there's always a reason behind it, like the reason why they want to go out. Not just, like you said, what they would do in the evening can do late afternoon, but is anyone undermining the real reason why they want to go out after night at that certain time?
My point wasn't exactly that, that the point wasn't about going out at night in specific. It was just the fact that, that you should treat, just because you are Shia, you're a Muslim, you shouldn't be treated differently to any other human being. Obviously, you're expected as as a Muslim to be a good person, not to commit sin. But that doesn't mean that you're treated like an alien, and that you're expected to stay, in a hut inside a shed all your through your teen life, because it's going to affect you later on.
How does that affect you, do you think? If that is the case, because a lot of my brothers and sisters who are
I think
in that sort of age group,
one main thing which is is a big factor with everything is the connection between you and your parents. Because if your parent is able to put
communicate
trust in
with you.
Yeah, if they're able to put trust in, even though inside your parents know you inside out, they'll know if you're lying, they know if you're not, you know, telling the truth, they know if you're going out, what you're going to do. They've given you that trust. They're giving you. When you break their trust, you inside will feel, you know, I've done something wrong, and that feeling inside is what changes you. You know, what makes you think, you know, I need to improve myself. I don't want to hurt my parents like that
So
again.
basically, at that point, you're
That is
thinking.
a connection.
So you've got a connection with your parents.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking,
If
right,
you
okay, I
don't
don't want to
trust
let them down. If I
Yeah.
let them down, I've in fact
If
let
you
myself down.
instead, you know, say, oh, why are you going to go out there? What are you going to do? If you start getting, you know, like suspicious, then that's when this rebellious attitude comes. That's when this, oh, it's you know, we're just talking about this kids on the street corners. If you've noticed that they were hanging around in street corners and blocks of their own group of people, all the same type of, you know, 10 of the same sort of people, you know, are chilling with people of the same type, you know, the same sort of family background, the same sort of friends, so trying to get together, doing something, you know, just getting out of the
from
circle.
school.
Yeah, obviously because their parents are so strict, you know, suspecting that you're either introvert or you're extrovert. It's either the attitude of, you know, I'm confident I can do what I want and no one can tell me what to do, or it's what's the point? I may as well do it if they're gonna, you know, tell me that I'm doing it. Yeah, and like, no man, it becomes a pact.
It's all about trust and also responsibility, isn't
Right,
it?
that's fantastic. Okay, we've got an email going back to our Idara's point from our sister Sadia Kiani, who has appreciated the show. I would just like to say I totally agree that the Idaras have no responsibility when things go wrong, and you are on your own when you are in trouble. And also there is so much emphasis on majlises and du'as and prayers, but nothing done practically, and that goes to our responsibles in Idaras as well. So this is, by the sounds of it, it sounds like a sister, possibly a teenager or a member of youth, Sister Sadia Kiani, and she has expressed her dismay on our Idaras. She does not feel that, you know, if there is something that you, and that's going back to what we talked about last week, that if there is something that you want to talk to your parents about and you find it difficult to talk to your parents about, there isn't anywhere else or safe house that they can go to. How important, and what do you think our Sister Sadia Kiani is trying to express?
We have made those idaras. As individuals, as a group of people, we're all responsible for developing this organisation that we have made for ourselves. So why are we not questioning if our idaras are not providing us with the facilities that we need and are not fulfilling our needs? Are we not questioning them?
Why do you
are we
think
not
youth are
questioning
not?
them? We're paying our monthly fees. We're paying whatever our donations and helping out in other senses.
Samreen, if we're not, why do you think youth are not questioning it?
They're not allowed to challenge it. They're not giving the authority to question it. So, oh, Vijay Gush, you know, he doesn't know nothing, so, you know, he doesn't know, he doesn't care, and that's it. And they're not prioritising the young people's voices. And if you don't appreciate or acknowledge young people's voices, they lose ownership and they don't care. They only come to majlis when the mum and dad force them because it's muharram and sabab.
It's not a bad thing. I mean, as a young kid, I did learn that if my parents didn't take me to the majlises when I was, you know, a young kid, I didn't understand what was going on. Maybe that would not have affected me, you know, later on. It is definitely something that that is encouraged. You know, take young kids to you from a young age, so they're used to the environment, so they're comfortable going to the mosque. They're not uncomfortable. They don't feel that, you know, they don't know anybody's faces. They're not used to the environment. They're not used to the practices, because when you get used to that from a young age, you know, it builds into you and you're able to make pockets of friends and you know, connections with people in your community as well as with your parents. Now, because obviously the topic was about the idara. Now the connection isn't just directly with the idara itself. There's the idara of the community members, and then there's the Maulana, you know, the person who is leading that community. Now, for a young person to be able to approach his parent, maybe that might be difficult, but it will be just equally as bad, maybe even worse, to approach someone in the community or a Maulana, because then it becomes down to
connected community.
Yeah, then it becomes down to more about, you know, whether will I be judged from what I say? Will they look at me differently? Will they look at me as a, you know, like, will they judge me wrongly? Will he look at me and think, you know, this is what he is now? Will they see me in a different way? Will I lose my respect and dignity because I've opened up? in our schools and communities, we have, you know, confidential advice centres where we can talk to people. I've not actually witnessed that in our communities, which is something that they do need to think about. Not just necessarily Maulanas, even young people like myself, or people maybe a bit more experienced than myself, someone who they can, you know, go to, have it right on the walls, you know, that this is a confidentially advice. If you want some advice, if you have problems, if you have drug problems, if you have any, you know, any relationship problems, anything, youth-related problems, not even necessarily Islamic, even if they are things that they shouldn't be doing, but something that they just talk to someone, they get some healthy advice rather than getting unhealthy advice.
In schools we have educational, sorry to cut you there. In schools we have educational social workers, so perhaps we need
the RAMADAN I go to, we created that ourselves. Not the Maulana, the chairman, the committee, we as families, you know which one I'm on about. We created a nice environment, a family environment, everyone's welcome, very diverse from people, ages and stuff. And we all see each other as parents or the other people's kids. Now when you build that trust and a close-knit relationship, I would feel more comfortable going to someone from our community to give them advice. I mean, I had parents come to me for advice with their children's school, GCSE subjects, and I even had young people come to me, like brother on stage, asking me for advice financially, a job, help them with a CV, everything. So it's up to us as a community to create that environment. Like, I'm blessed that my dada has given us the opportunity to feel comfortable, and it's more like a family rather than anything else.
I would sort of say that if rather than it's up to us to create, for us to request, and it should be a top-down leadership where those roles would be created for persons such as a social worker, somebody who's nominated, or even a marriage, because we often get people nominating themselves. I will sort out rishtars, or I will sort of, you can go and speak to so-and-so for whatever problems you have with the youth. But there should be a person assigned with a salary who is doing this work to serve the community. And then they would do it at a professional level, not just ad hoc, where it's missing some and hitting on others. And then there's this element of favoritism too. We don't want any favoritism or family connection.
That's really interesting. We've got this email from Brother Hassan Abbas. The email is that how about our idaras acting the role of a networking suite? So as far as we youth, members of youth go to idara. Idaras can play an important part in our lives by offering a networking suite. So that means they would go there and they would network with whoever is available in that particular idara, if they know that this is the owner of a law firm. So when I actually graduate and do my LPC, I would literally walk straight into, because that refers to another text message, in fact an email that we received. I wouldn't name the brother. The brother sent in an email, and again, it's very sad to read these sort of responses from the youth, that they've done well in their education, and this is somebody who's received very, very distinctive grades. So this is how the email goes. I'm a graduate. I have trouble because of not having any experience for some jobs, and of course, to get experience, you need to have worked. I'm stuck in a catch-22 situation, so to speak. The only way I see to get experience is to work a while for free. But even then, if you do that too often, it looks bad on your CV, as if you're not dedicated or focused enough. It shouldn't be like this. If I accept a low-level job after getting my degree, then it will be like as if I have no ambition. Sometimes it feels like you can't win either way. Now that is a very sad email from somebody who's received A-levels, straight A's, GCSEs, straight A's, and then university degree in the first class grade. So it's possibly 2-1 or first that they've got in their university degree, and yet there is nothing out there, and they've contacted the show because there is nothing that our idaras are able to offer. There is no counselling available to them.
The reason there's nothing for our idaras to offer, because people who, like I said last week, people who grew up, in the deprived areas or whatever areas and made it out of there and in blue-collar areas, they've forgotten their foundation, they've forgotten their past, and they're not reaching out to the lost community. So they lost that trust.
Yeah, but there's that element, but maybe that some of them have tried to get in, but they've been ousted out by the idaras which are being controlled by the communities.
An
that
important
are
question, and possibly relevant to Samreen. Do you think our idaras have got expertise to be able to give advice in their skill set?
They have within the community. It's
No. Within the idara, when I say idara, I mean the nominees and office bearers and members of cabinet and, you know, organisers, people who actually run the show. So do you think they've got expertise?
That's where we vote them in. We vote these people in. We decide who is going to run our idara. When we choose who's going to run our idara is when we should be nominating people. We should be mentioning that so-and-so person is a professional teacher in the education department. They could be good at this section. This is a medical student, a doctor or a lawyer. We need accountants. We need all of these professionals to run the idara, and that way they will be reaching out to various people within that community. We have all the professionals, we have all the facilities, but are we reaching out to either the popular people, you know, who everybody likes, or are we reaching out to the people that we need to run that?
It's like I mentioned before about the Shia professionals of London. It's just it's one scheme that I saw is very, very good scheme, and it's something that I would love to see all over, apart from London, all over the UK.
So you would like to see that particular format?
Yeah, where we would get professionals from our Shia community in every single field. What they actually do is they set up stalls for a profession of everything. One for civil engineering, one for medicine, you know, one for everything. They're all PhD students. Most of them are lecturers, university lecturers, teachers, and qualified,
and
people with jobs and business. Yeah, all Shia.
Right.
Which is another thing which is quite amazing, actually, that they managed to find somebody of every single field to set up a stall, to set up advice for CV building, for, you know, interview practice, mock interviews, you know, job interviews, university interviews.
Let's just not talk about a particular organisation. Let's talk about
generally. This is the idea of it.
So what you're saying is that this can be translated.
Yes, it can be put into our, because I'm sure in every one of our idaras that we do have doctors, we do have lawyers, we do have solicitors, etc. We do have, you know, a few, you know, professionals. We do have graduates, and it's not just, you know, our younger people that are gone to university come out. You know, we do have quite a vast amount of people that have been through university and had a degree, do run businesses, do have jobs, that can offer advice and, you know, help our youth, lift them up as well.
Who would engage?
Professionals to
this is what
do public service duties. So if they are members, they would have to do X number of hours.
So this is what I mean. So this is my question to you.
Yes.
Who would engage with those professionals?
It would be
from Idara's point of view.
The Idara themselves, the president and the secretaries. Well, they would have to set up a working party and then look at strategies on how they would engage and write a policy on it and get those people on board. I am sure there are lots of professionals out there who would be glad to get involved if only asked. In the past, my experience has been that people have tried to get involved, but it hasn't happened for some reason or another. But I think we shouldn't be complacent. We need to get on with it, and we need to insist on this happening as a community.
Just otherwise, give that extra push. You know, we need that extra push.
There is also, because obviously your expertise are within the deprived and within the age group of 13 to 25, and it is pretty diverse, but particularly focusing on our Muslim youth. Do you think that professionals and people who have actually moved on to the blue-collared areas, they have forgotten about where they come from? Or forgotten about the deprived?
I think they have turned a blind eye to it now, because they've got a new circle of friends, new community, new life. They think, well, that was our past, forget the past, you know, this is my future, this is my present. And they forgot that the struggles they had, they encountered, they experienced. And I think once you forget where you come from, you're in denial of you don't appreciate your present as much as you should.
Right.
And I think they are important people to come back and speak to the young people.
Who do you speak on behalf of when you say that? Do you speak on behalf of Idara's management, or speak on behalf of people who are actually on the youth? Or
I'm speaking to the wider community, but more so to the Idaras that we need to again connect with those professionals to bring them back and give symbol of hope. And
but when you say that they've moved on,
who do you
speak on behalf of?
From young people, I think, because they lost that trust. If you bring a lawyer back in here, only six-figure sum, the young person is not going to trust them because they don't understand. because they
Why would they not trust them?
Because they're forgotten, they won't understand from someone who's only 6 months Islam to someone on JSA. You forget that you like lose
Do you share the same view? Do you share the same view that youth would feel that as if they don't trust somebody who's going to come back to the community? I feel that, you know, the responsibility of the youth who's actually come back and the professionals actually come back to add value is commendable.
Yeah, as you said, it's again, it's just down to, you know, who you're putting your trust into, which it's how you approach, you know, how you approach your youth. You can't look down on us. You can't look down on youth. You can't, you know, have this attitude. You can't patronize. There's a lot of patronizing. I noticed a lot of patronizing from our. I'm not targeting anyone or, you know, saying anything, but there's a lot of, you know.
Can you materialize that in your argument when you say, you know, it's patronizing? Patronizing,
as in, you know, treating youth as a problem. Not the youth as a problem, not as your future, rather than a problem. I always see it like a test tube. Our generation is like a test tube with 5 filters. Our top filter is our parents that came in, and it goes through. And as the residue is coming through, it should come through each filter, each generation, until it come to a point where it's almost pure. And it should be, by the time, you know, at the time for Imam comes, that our generation should be pure enough to be able to stand and be as strong as possible. That is how we should be, not treating it as in our youth are getting worse and worse progressively, which is what the stats are showing. And it shouldn't be like that. In actual fact, our stats should be going down. We should be getting stronger, and our youth should be stronger from a younger age. Whereas maybe me as a person, I might have, you know, gained my knowledge and got better at maybe able 15, 16. My kids, I want them to be at the stage I am now, at the age of maybe 9, 10, 8 years old, you know, have that strong strength in them from a younger age.
From what you're saying, that takes us back to our conversation 3 weeks ago, where we said responsibility is thrown back to the parents. Is that what you're saying?
It's not thrown back to the parents. It's not purely to do that. Again, it's us as Shia, as you know, Shia, Imam Ali, as Muslims of, you know,
No, but what you're saying is that if you are literally at the bottom of the chest tube, that means you got to be
There
pure.
is no bottom. It's not purity is not purity, and perfection is something we have to strive towards. There's no possible way we can all be perfect, but we have to strive. The striving towards perfection is perfection. In my eyes, the ability to, you know, want to be perfect is perfection.
No, but that purification method that you proposed,
I'm not saying that, you know, that we're at the bottom, but I'm just saying that it should be getting better, and that's not just the responsibility of parents.
Yeah.
It's as we mentioned in the previous show, it is a responsibility of, you know, our youth workers, our community members, our youths, our elders, our teachers, you know, our elders. I mean,
so what
our
you're
elders,
saying is that our youth are actually deemed somewhat trouble.
Yeah, they're more seen as troublemakers, as problematic, as a problem right now, rather than, you know, they're not even treated like human beings. The youth, our youth in now day and age, if you see in the news, if you see in the media, it's portrayed, when the word youth comes up, you know, immediately hoods, hats, hoodies.
Who's created those views?
It's
not the youth themselves.
Yeah.
You tell us, Amina, because you work in the practical division. You tell us, who do you think has created that image?
We can't point a finger at anyone. You can't. It's a lot of physical factors, economic factors.
But where is our brother's views coming from that when the word youth is mentioned, that's the sort of image comes up?
Community.
It's the community, and for example, last year we had the riots.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we had the riots, and we said it was the youth who were causing the riots. So now, how did those young kids get out there and start breaking windows and doors and causing havoc?
Even if you see the interviews between some of the kids that they're on the news, or what their views was when they said they had some pretty drastic, you know, views of it. They were just simply, what's the point? Yeah. What's the point? No, we don't get support.
I am actually aware of a lot of Shia youth who were actually, unfortunately, party to that sort of, you know, very unpleasant experience that we had to witness on the history of British, you know, face. Anyway, I hope we never see that again.
Yeah.
But how can we amend that? I mean, our youth are literally feeling.
They're shouting.
Yeah.
They're silently shouting. You know,
Yes.
they're shouting. They're trying. Yeah, it is a worrying thing.
We should be
We need
worried
to
that
take
they've got-
action.
yeah,
We
that we're
really
not
need to take
listening.
action, especially where education
Who's not
is
listening,
concerned.
Samri?
We as elders, or the generation after them, that have brought them into this world with a purpose, with a reason, are not listening. You know, because maybe it's too scary to listen. Maybe we won't want to hear the things that we want to hear, and it's better off if we just shut our ears and close
It's
our
like
eyes.
somebody shouting
and
behind a glass wall.
Right, so idaras, as far as idaras are concerned, so for example, I'm going to give an example of a particular idara in a particular city, and they serve to, for example, 5,000 Shias of that particular postcode vicinity, excuse my code. What do you think that idara can do right now to make it happen? So if they want to engage with those professionals who've actually moved on, because I'm sure there are a lot of presidents and general secretaries and office bearers of idaras who are watching this show right now, and they really listen to the debate, and they're now thinking, you know what, we really have missed the boat with these kids. We need to bring them back. What do you think they can do?
I think they need to call a group for action and set up a working party, how they're going to address their own community members and how they could facilitate the needs of their youth, and educate their parents as well on how to support the youth. So they need to deliver workshops, they need to facilitate any activities, sporting or otherwise, such as painting or cookery classes or yoga classes for young girls and women. It's simple things like that. And also they need to liaise with the other idaras around the up and down the country and communicate with them and set up support structures and follow it up. And they need to have a paid role for somebody to do
But
that.
more importantly, I think they need to reach out to the young people of their community and ask them why, what, when, how, and what would you benefit? How would you benefit?
You mentioned something about responsibility.
Responsibility. I was just about to mention that
So
point.
when you say these idaras are actually led by same uncle who's been there for 20 odd years and he's still the president, our youth who was once 3-year-old in the lap of that uncle watching Maulana recite, and now that youth is 23. That uncle, a little bit more grey, is still the president. Now that youth wants to make some changes because things are happening the way they were back in the 60s. Things are happening still the way they were happening in 70s, 80s, 90s. But now, this is a completely different arena. We're in a completely different... It's the third generation, for God's sake, we're talking about. So what do you think our generation right now wants to bring about in idaras, and how do you think that can be perceived? Because if I went to my idara and said, listen, Mr. President, listen, Mr. General Secretary, you guys have got absolutely no clue what's going on in the outside world. You don't know what the youth are feeling right now. You feel that youth are just trouble. How do you think they would react to
Well,
it?
we go back to the point that we made earlier, that by delegating responsibility.
How do you think they would feel if you actually go over to them and ask them to make the change?
That's where they need to change their thinking pattern, because none of us are going to be here forever. And at one point, that organisation that we've built up over a long time and worked very hard are going to be run by somebody who probably has no experience and don't know what they're doing. If we don't delegate responsibility now, then that responsibility is going to be handed over anyway.
I think they need to ask themselves, why are they doing this? For whose benefit? Question themselves. Why
we don't know. I hope that there isn't a financial gain, and I hope there isn't a immoral gain.
Have we lost our aims and objectives of when we initially started that organisation? Back in the 60s when they started that idara or that imambara, when they
or any idara,
you know, when they started it off, there must have been a mission statement, there must have been a reason why they started it, and has that mission faded somewhere along the line? Has
and do they do a satisfaction survey?
Do you really believe that back in the 60s when they actually set up idara, they would have sit down and then said, right, okay, we need to draft a mission statement, we need to draft set of rules?
There would have been a personal opinion.
I can assure you that back in the 60s it would have only been one motto, and that would have been Majlis.
Yeah, would have been enough for that time.
But now to get
But as time develops...
Do you think our idaras have evolved?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that, you know,
We've increased. We actually increased. If you look at the numbers of how we still are a minority as Shia, but we have actually increased in numbers. We are getting, we have before it was simply a group of us had moved back from another country to this country as immigrants, and then obviously as we settled in here, we got married, had kids. As the kids grow up, they had kids. Obviously, we're expanding now. As we're expanding, it's like it's not.
But our needs have changed, though, haven't
they have. They've definitely changed.
Our needs have changed from where we were in the 60s.
Yeah.
We're in third generation.
Yeah, it's very different.
Their cultures changed. And we need to.
I mean, obviously, you both are parents. How do your children feel about how idaras are responding at the moment?
Well, I think there's a big divide between the understanding of what the alims are delivering and what the youth expectations are.
Let's ignore alim, because alim are only supposed to do one job, and that is to give a spiritual element and spiritual feed, and which I'm sure we are benefiting from our ulamas, alhamdulillah. But I think we're talking about the office bearers.
Yes, of course.
The organisers.
But the reason I made about the alims is because the youth, as you said, that sometimes they feel reluctant or hesitant in asking, or there needs to be a middle link between the hierarchy and the youth, and have that bridge so that they feel comfortable enough to go in.
Like even a junior
and
committee.
even make a mistake.
You know,
make a mistake and get it wrong and say it's okay.
That's a very good idea.
Even a junior committee. You know, like we have our elders running a community. Obviously, they're around whilst they're around. Then having, you know, as the senior committee, then we're having the junior committee that they make starting off by making little decisions. It's small responsibilities, and then increasing their responsibility as they grow up. You know, be giving them more authority. Then as I shouldn't really say it like obviously we don't want politics. We don't want to ever mix politics with our imam baras, because that's when things start going topsy-turvy. But you know, giving them authority, starting them. You know, maybe you organise. You're in charge of organising this event. You're a 10-year-old kid. You know, not very knowledgeable, not very, you know, but starting him off somewhere. You're in charge of, you know, distributing these brochures or something like that, and then as he grows up, increasing his responsibility, making him feel important. As that importance grows, then his interest and fondness of the community, of the masjid, of what he's doing and the reason he's doing improves. That's what we need to do.
That's where that need comes in, of wanting to go to the idara other than just for those particular dates.
Can I just say that does work?
Lastly, couple of minutes.
That does work. When I managed youth projects, there was a committee, then we had a young people's committee, and they had ownership. So we had small pocket funding, they would do marketing, they have different roles in, where some would be a budget person, some would be a promotion, some would be getting young people, and they had responsibility, and they were hungry to come back in. It looked good on the CV, they got so much confidence and experience, and it gave them ownership. And once you give young people ownership and responsibility, they feel proud and they want to represent more. But if you take responsibility and ownership away or don't give it to them, they were like, well, why should I care?
And in
attitude.
schools we have school council.
That's it,
and we have prefects.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think this has been a very, very useful debate. I thank you very much, all our honourable guests and our brother on Muhammad. It was really useful. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed today's debate, and whilst we're actually talking about these issues, it has come to light that our idaras do hold the most important responsibility in the community. Our community's future will be destined by our youth, and if our youth are not looked after today, the responsibility and obviously the book would be passed back to people who were responsible of those idaras. So if your idara wants to make the change, we are happy for you to write to us. We are happy for you to contact our studios, and we do have help available out there for those idaras who actually do want to do something for their youth, because this probably is the most important and most critical moment for you to actually take that decision, take that initiative. All those emails, all those text messages and phone calls, we thank everybody who's joined us. Unfortunately, we couldn't cover all the emails, but clearly we would over the next course of shows, and inshallah we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, and look after yourself. Khuda Hafiz.